Hello media students, welcome to this presentation about the media studies controlled assessment. I'm thinking about the controlled assessment you've got about genre conventions. We'll look here at how you use PEE+, which you should have learnt about in previous units, to write about genre conventions. How do you adapt it to this? So learning intentions, we're learning to understand how to use PEE+ to produce quality writing about genre conventions. How do we change the way we use PEE to structure really good quality paragraphs? Right, a reminder of your task and your title. This is a controlled assessment media studies GCSE tasks. You've got 2 hours to write about, to do the write-up for this question. Investigate the ways that genre conventions are used to attract an audience in, and at this point you're having one main trailer that you've chosen and investigated and 2 secondary trailers, and all of those trailers should be of the same genre. So you might do 3 trailers on the action adventure genre, for example. So it's worth looking at the title in detail, thinking about it. So you're investigating genre conventions. You have to show an understanding of at least 3 or 4 minimum genre conventions that are used in these trailers, and you're focusing on how they attract an audience. Right, I'm not going to go through what PEE is really, point evidence explanation. I'm just going to show you some examples here. Here's one student's work. One way that genre conventions are used to attract an audience is by the use of fast-paced editing. This happens towards the end of the trailer. It shows that the film will be exciting and that a lot will happen in the film. Okay, fairly typical paragraph there. Let's have a look at, is it any good? Well, you've got your point. Your point's actually probably the strongest part, because it uses the key words of the question. You've been asked, how are genre conventions used to attract an audience? And your point, your topic sentence says, one way that genre conventions are used to attract an audience. It uses those key words, so it's answering the question, so that's pretty good. It's also got the use of fast-paced editing, which is a good genre convention to use, and it's a good point. This happens towards the end of the trailer. Here, the paragraph becomes a lot weaker, because it's very vague, isn't it? It's not a very detailed or developed example. You know, so if you're thinking about the way you've used PEE for Macbeth or for Mice and Men or for poetry or whatever, that would be a very short, very vague quotation. Okay. Finally, you've got, it shows that the film will be exciting and that a lot will happen in the film. Again, that's quite a limited explanation. It doesn't go into a lot of detail. I mean, it's probably true, I suppose. It does show it will be exciting. It shows that a lot will happen because you've got all these different shots. But it's very limited in scope and in ambition. It needs to be much more detailed than that. Okay, so that's quite a weak example of PEE paragraphing. Right, now, one extreme to the other here, we go into a very detailed example. Okay, now this is what the sort of thing we're headed towards. This is what we're aiming at. It's actually a very good example. You know, don't be intimidated by the size of this, but do try and learn from what we read here. I won't read it all out first of all, but I'll go through it bit by bit. Okay, first sentence. One way that genre, it's the same. Do you notice that's the same point as in your previous example? Okay, so the point is exactly the same, and it's good, it's focused, it uses the keywords of the question. This can be particularly be seen when towards the end of the trailer, that's wrong, isn't it? I should say towards the end of the trailer, from the moment that a shot is fired at 1:08. Now look, can you see how detailed and focused and precise that example is? Okay, and they go on. From this point, there is a series of shots quickly edited together, such as a number of extreme close-ups on the main character's face alongside long shots of an explosion. This continues for approximately 10 seconds before the screen fades to black and a voiceover states, "coming soon," etc., etc. Now that's the big difference, isn't it? With a media studies PEE, you've got to put a lot more detail into your example. So they've stated exactly the point where the technique begins, 1:48. Okay, so you can do that in yours. Make sure you can do that for your clips. And then it goes into real detail. It describes it. It's not as simple as just putting in a one-sentence quotation. You've got to try and describe the way the technique and how long it lasts, how the way the technique works. So it's more challenging in that sense and requires more detail than a quotation for a literature essay.